Alright guys, 15.1 and 15.1a strategies, setups, decisive variables, technical things to consider, your pacing, what I recommend for each of you, as well as the same for 15.1a. 15.1 is a 9-minute AMRAP of 15 toes to bar, 10 deadlifts at 115 pounds, 75 pounds, and 5 snatches at 115.75, which basically means 15.1 is a 9-minute AMRAP of toes to bar. So once you're done your 9-minute AMRAP of 15.1, you move directly into 15.1a, which begins at 9 minutes and 1 second. And from 9 minutes and 1 second, for 6 minutes, so until the clock reads 15 minutes, you have to reach a 1 rep max clean and jerk. The things that I'd like to point out as decisive factors are that for most athletes, the toes to bar will be the primary limitation. If you cannot snatch 115 or 75 pounds, that's clearly a much more decisive variable for you, and you should be doing the scaled version of this workout, which is an option for the Open this year. The deadlifts and snatches primarily exist to get your heart rate up and further fatigue your grip. So what that's going to do is that's going to prevent you from breathing well in your toes to bar, as well as holding on to the bar during your 15 reps. The major factors in 15.1a are your absolute strength, your ability to recover from the 9-minute AMRAP quickly, your grip fatigue from 15.1, and, as is usual with most CrossFitters, your jerk mechanics. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to talk about your setup. How should you set this up? You should set this workout up much like you would set up for Fran. You want your bar as close to your pull-up station as possible, and you want to take as few steps between each movement as possible. The reason this is important is you will maximize your ability to actually rest between your transitions and keep your focus on the movement and the reps that you have to come. The last thing you want to do is try to find how to navigate to your space. Another important piece in your setup is making sure that your weights that you want for your clean and jerks are set up and arranged in advance for 15.1a. So what that means is you should set up everything you have for 15.1, and directly in that vicinity next to thereabouts, you should set up all of the weight you will be adding to your bar for your clean and jerk attempts based on what you're predicting you'll be able to hit. Setup number 3, chalk. I rarely ever talk about chalk, and if I do, it's usually tell people to clean it up. You should chalk the shit out of everything. Chalk your toes to bar, pull-up station, chalk your barbell, chalk your hands, chalk everything. The more chalk you use, the less grip strength and squeezing you will have to do, which will eventually pay off and give you a little more speed in the later rounds. It also allows you to not look for chalk between your sets or between your movements. So if you are going to have chalk available, make sure that it's right there, but not in your way, and that you don't have to look for it if you're going to put some on. You should be relatively well chalked up before it happens, and maybe have to add chalk once or twice. One of the things regarding chalk is you should chalk your barbell. Take a piece of chalk, put chalk on your barbell, so that every time you grab it, you can literally see a small cloud of chalk come off the bar. That will save your grip for the snatches, the deadlifts, and then inevitably the toes to bar. A unique thing for this workout is the tiebreaker. 15.1a has a tiebreaker, and it's based on body weight in 10-pound increments. So you will either be 180 to 189, 190 to 199, 200 to 299, etc., etc., etc. So make sure if you're a competitive athlete, you have a way to verify your body weight for this workout. Technical considerations. All of these are important because you have to make sure that you reduce everything you do. You try to reduce your grip fatigue. The way you do that with toes to bar is by keeping your hands relaxed and staying tight through the midline on the way down from the rep. If you don't stay tight on the way down from the rep, you will get a jerking motion through your arm and shoulder because your lat is not engaged, and that will force you to stay on the bar by squeezing harder, taxing your grip. When you're actually going into the rep, what you want to make sure is you're not doing a leg raise, all right? You want to make sure that you are keeping your legs as close to your body as possible. So you want to bring your knees to your elbows and then kick your toes to the bar. And then you repeat that pattern on the way back. You want to bring your feet back towards your butt and then lower your knees and kick your feet down and back behind you. In the deadlift, the biggest thing here is choosing the right grip. You should choose a mixed grip or a hook grip as the two that you choose. I would also consider, for those of you with smaller hands or weak grips, using a monkey grip or a mixed monkey grip, which is when you hold the bar with no thumb engaged. Putting the thumb around the bar will tax your grip intensely more, so it's important for you to just cup your hand on the bar, just like this, all right? The other thing is once again, you don't want to jolt the bar. You don't want to rip the bar off the ground because once again, that's in order to make up for the lack of tension in your lat and your back and your midline, you're going to have to squeeze the bar harder. So make sure when you are doing these deadlifts, you're doing a nice, smooth, steady movement. You should not be clenching your midline or exaggerating your back extension through this. The weight is very light, and for those of you who can deadlift more than 200 pounds, this is very, very light, and it should just be a relaxed, slow movement that you breathe through. You should be breathing through every rep, and you shouldn't be like squeezing or clenching anything extra than you need to. It's the equivalent of taking a walk as a weightlifter. This will help reduce what we call the back pump from high rep deadlifts, when you feel like your lower back gets all jacked up and you can't move. Because that's the last thing you want to feel before you go into heavy clean and jerks or snatches or try to do toes to bar. For stronger athletes so for the snatch, for stronger athletes, having a high hip snatch or start for the snatch will work, but be prepared for that to affect you in your clean and jerks or possibly add to that back pump. It's very fatiguing for your back, but it will help support your legs a little bit for heavy clean and jerks. It will also help reduce your cycle time. That's not really that important here because speed is not the important priority with these 5 reps of snatches. The thing that's important here is making sure that it doesn't cost you equity on the toes to bar. Make sure you power snatch all of your lifts from the beginning. Do not muscle snatch. Muscle snatching requires much more shoulder and grip work, so it will fatigue you more. So make sure that when you do power snatch, it's a good power snatch where your hips are going back and your feet are staying under you so that you can use your legs to move the weight. Once again, with the snatches, don't rip the bar off the ground. For 15.1, yes, wear Nanos, Innovates, Metcons, or whatever sort of casual cross-fitting shoe you prefer to wear. And one thing to keep in mind is that in this workout, it's the classic story of the tortoise versus the hare. So the one who moves more slow and steady here is definitely going to do better, all right? Pacing. It's a 9-minute AMRAP, it's 540 seconds. If you do 2-minute rounds, you'll get 4.5 rounds, which is 135 reps. If you do 1-minute-and-45-second rounds, you'll get 5.15 rounds, which is 154 reps. You can continue to go through the math on your own. If you do 1-minute-and-15 rounds, you get 7.2, which is 216. And then 110 rounds, 7.7, 231 reps, which is better than either Fraser or Froning did in the intro workout, which means your game's bound and we're good. Recommendations for the toes to bar. Sets of 5 or 3 from the start. If you are doing sets of 5, take 5 seconds of rest between based on the clock. Don't count 5 breaths, don't count 5 seconds in your head. Watch the clock. Make sure in your setup that you're in a place where you can see the clock and that you're sticking to 5 seconds of rest based on the clock between your sets. If you're doing sets of 3 because you have issues with this, make sure that you're sticking to 3 seconds between sets. So it'll be a little shorter rest cycle, but your work cycles will also be less intense. If you go unbroken in rounds 1 or 2 or both, no matter what you think or what you feel, break your toes to bar in round 3 to 8 or 7 or sets of 5 would be smart. Do not, and the last thing I want to say is don't jump to your bar. Jumping to your bar as opposed to just standing there and holding your bar will, whether or not you realize it, if you get 5 rounds, that's 3 jumps per round, that's 25 jumps. That will raise your heart rate, that will add extra work that you don't need to do. So in your setup, make sure that if you're going to a higher bar, you have a box that you can step off of for your toes to bar and step down onto from the set. You don't want to have to be jumping down and stepping up and then grabbing the bar again. So once again, this is a major consideration for your setup. In the deadlifts after the toes to bar, do not rest between toes to bar and deadlifts. This is as casual a weightlifting movement or barbell movement could ever be for a CrossFitter, especially one that's well trained and strong. So go directly from the toes to bar into the deadlifts and use these deadlifts as a period of time to recover. You should, like I said earlier, you should be breathing and relaxed and not bracing using energy there. So make sure that the deadlifts happen right after, and it should be in unbroken sets. You should not have to break a set of 10, 150-pound deadlifts. If you do, we're sort of hitting the point where we're not maximizing the outcome of the workout. From the deadlift into the snatch, put the bar down, take a step back, look at the clock, rest 5 seconds, and take several deep breaths. You want to, again, work slow and steady here and attempt to stay unbroken. Every time you break this set, you're adding extra time. That's going to deteriorate your final score. All right, 15-1A. Technical considerations. Your midline will be destroyed. Okay? Your core, your lower back, and your grip will be absolutely toasted. If you lift with a belt, ever, don't be a hero and take your very first attempt with a belt on it. There's no reason to try to lift without a belt if you're used to it. Number 2, change your shoes. If you don't, you're intentionally avoiding something that could give you an advantage here. All right? Switching the equipment while you rest will give you a decisive advantage over people who don't. All right? Your first attempt will feel heavier than it actually is because you will still be fatigued and because of your grip. So make sure that you hook grip on your first attempt and squeeze tighter than you normally would so that you don't lose the bar after the thigh rush. You do not want to have to take a second attempt at a first part of a lift. Number 4, your first attempt should be something you know you can undoubtedly hit. As Matt Frazier put it, it should be a weight you could lift while being sprayed with a hose in the face. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to recommend that everybody starts at 70% there. One more technical consideration. Once again, having a great setup will allow you to stay focused on what you need to do, not on where your weights are and how you need to get in the right place and put the right weights on the bar. You have to make sure that your setup is precise and organized. All right? Pacing. There's no reason for someone to take more than 3 to 4 attempts max here, especially because we all know what our maxes are and what our percentages are. So what I'm going to ask everyone to do is for the first 60 to 90 seconds of 15.1 is to sit down, change your shoes, and rest, and focus. After 60 to 90 seconds, get up, you load 70% on the bar, and you let it go. Alright, now you're on the board, you're not going to bomb out, you have a place to start, you're going to know a little bit more about how you feel, and you've given your forearms and your midline a chance to recover. Now the next of these 4 attempts, they should be 67.5 seconds apart, so roughly a minute to a minute and 10 seconds. Your second attempt should be 80%. You should be recovered by now because you're about 3 minutes into the 6-minute time period. If you hit 80, move on to 90%. If you hit 90%, move on to 90% or more. Okay? If you miss 90%, or you feel when you do 80%, that's pretty close to the max there, hit 85% and then work again from there. Alright? But that's really how it should go. It should go 70, 80, 90. For the people who've trained at this gym, you've made those jumps regularly through training over the past couple of months, so it's not that much of a reach. One more thing I wanted to add in terms of what you should be focusing on during the clean and jerks is your jerk mechanics. CrossFitters notoriously miss jerks. We saw Frazier miss his jerk last night, giving Froning the win in 15.A. Make sure that your setup is good so you don't get frantic if you're running out of time. Make sure once you finish your clean that you find your balance in the middle of your foot or closer to the heel. You take a deep breath, embrace that midline. If you're using a belt, pushing against the belt. Make sure you're also in the deepest front rack you can get. Alright, fingertip front racks will definitely be a liability here because you will be tired and you will roll forward if you're not high on that collarbone, even if it's relatively uncomfortable just for a second. When the bar is over your head, make sure you're squeezing your hands as tight as you can, as well as your glutes. Alright, that's going to help you keep that bar in place in order to bring your feet back under you. For warm-up, what I'm recommending is you row or bike for about 5 minutes to elevate your heart rate and get your blood flowing. And then add in either a dynamic or junkyard dog warm-up. We'll figure out which one we're going to do based on the amount of space we have. And then you should do 3 rounds of each movement for 3 reps. And then clean and jerk up to 70%, which will be your opener. Take 90 seconds and then 3, 2, 1, go. Alright? You should be hitting your opener, clean and jerk, in your warm-up before you lift. You do not want your first relevant clean and jerk to be in the wall. Okay? And the last thing is, this is the open. You should be excited. You should be nervous. Your training is based on this annual event. So make sure you give 100% and support to your community and be positive. No matter what the outcome of your workouts are, be positive. Alright? That's it. Good luck, everybody.
Did you record it?